Day 4 of Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York City has concluded, and there was just so much news from today's edition of the trial. There's been news in previous days as well, of course, but today especially in terms of getting this case to actual opening arguments, cross-examining witnesses, introducing evidence, the good stuff. We're getting there. Donald Trump doesn't want us to get there. It's going to happen anyway, whether he likes it or not. So I have a few things to show you today, a few things to talk about. First and foremost, those developments, another edition of Donald Trump falling asleep in court. I'm serious. We'll talk about it in a minute. And then the first thing we're going to discuss is this clip of Donald Trump giving a speech outside of the courtroom before the day began. And it's just complete incoherent garbage. He's going on this ramble about the gag order against him, calling it unfair. And he just repeats the same thing over and over and over again for around a minute and 45 seconds. Not good. We're going to talk about that right now and discuss a little bit and then go into the developments after. But before we look at that clip of Donald Trump, make sure to subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. I greatly appreciate the support. It means the world. But here's that clip of Donald Trump speaking outside of the courtroom.
People know it's very unfair. The gag order has to come off. People are allowed to speak about me, and I have a gag order, just to show you how much more unfair it is. And the conflict has to end with the judge. The judge has a conflict, the worst I've ever seen, and it has to end with the judge. The gag order has to come off. I should be allowed to speak. Every time I come out to speak to you, I want to be open because we did absolutely nothing wrong. I showed you yesterday 32 stories of experts, legal experts, and I don't have one the other way. 32 stories of legal experts saying very strongly there's no case, this case should have been brought. Trump did nothing wrong, and they say it strongly. Trump did nothing wrong. So they ought to get rid of the conflict with the judge, because that's something that he cannot do anything about. It's wrong. It's wrong. And the second thing is I have to be released of a gag order. They've taken away my constitutional rights to speak, and that includes speaking to you. I have a lot to say to you, and I'm not allowed to say it. And I'm the only one. Everyone else can say whatever they want about me. They can say anything they want. They can continue to make up lies and everything else. They lie. They're real scum. But you know what? I'm not allowed to speak. And I want to be able to speak to the press and everybody else about it. So why am I gagged about telling the truth? I'm only telling the truth. They're not telling the truth. The judge has to take off this gag order. It's very, very unfair that my constitutional rights have been taken away. Thank you very much. Are you going to keep posting about my...
Yeah, I wasn't lying when I said that it's just incoherent, rambling nonsense. I mean, just saying the same thing over and over again for 2 minutes straight, just saying, oh, the gag order against me is unfair, the judge is mean, etc., etc., etc. He's just repeating these talking points that he has repeated in literally every single case against him. Every single one. Every time he says this gag order is unfair if there is one, or this judge is unfair because they're doing their jobs as the judge in New York City is. But I do have to point out the irony, first and foremost, of him saying, I can't speak. And he is literally speaking. He is speaking. He is in front of the cameras, talking about the case, talking about his thoughts on the case, talking about the judge. He's allowed to go to the cameras and talk about politics. He's allowed to do all of this stuff. He is speaking. He is not silenced. Nobody is silencing him, so he can't talk. Isn't that just ironic, though? Like, I don't know how he's processing this in his head, where he is speaking. He has media attention. He has a platform to do it. Nobody is stopping him from doing it, while he's simultaneously claiming that Joe Biden and the Democrats are keeping him silent. It just doesn't make much sense, as everything does coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. Not much sense there. And also, what is Donald Trump arguing for here, right? The gag order against him in this case prevents him from attacking court staff, jurors, potential witnesses, the judge's extended family, all that good stuff, right? All these people who are not deserving of attacks from the defendant in the case. Is he saying that it's unfair that he can't do that? Is he saying that he wants to talk about the judge's daughter some more, or the judge's wife, or Michael Cohen, or a jury member? Really? Is that what he's arguing for here? Like, he does not have a constitutional right to interfere with a trial and taint a jury and intimidate witnesses. He does not have a constitutional right to do that, even if he is the defendant. And the court absolutely has the authority to put in place a gag order to make sure that that doesn't happen. Because we all know, with good reason, we all know that Donald Trump has a history of intimidating people, attacking people, and then having his followers go after them and intimidating them. Remember Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, Georgia election workers who sued Rudy Giuliani for defamation? They won. That was all inspired by Donald Trump and Giuliani and the MAGA lunatics, right? So the court absolutely has an interest and a reason to have a gag order against Donald Trump. But apparently, he wants to attack the judge's daughter, so he thinks it's unfair that there's a gag order against him. Seriously, what a pathetic response to all of this, right? And look, last thing I want to say about this clip before we move on to the bigger developments is that he always claims it's unfair that the potential witnesses against him don't have gag orders, but he does. And that is utter nonsense. He is the criminal defendant in this case. He has a history of attacking people who go after him, attacking witnesses, attacking potential jurors. I mean, he was amplifying a description of a juror on his Truth Social platform just the other day. He was talking about the description of a juror. He has gone after Michael Cohen. He's gone after all of these witnesses, and he's like, why do I have a gag order? Because you're the guy that's facing trial, and you're the guy who actually needs it. It's not unfair. There's no reason for anybody in this case to have a gag order except him. Nobody else has the history of attacking people like Donald Trump does. And that's that. That's that. So anyway, incoherent rambling. As you'll notice, he just repeats the same talking points over and over again. Just, it's unfair. The judge is mean to me. This gag order is unfair. I don't like the gag order. Judge is mean to me. I don't like the gag order. Judge is mean to me. That was the entire clip. And, his attacks against the judge, of course, are unwarranted. He's just mad that he's facing somebody that's fair. He doesn't get this Trump judge like he has in Florida. And that was the same criticism he had of Judge Tanya Chutkan in the D.C. case against him. She's just a fair judge. She's impartial. She does her job. She has a long history of doing it, just like Judge Merchan does. And he's upset about the ability to actually be competent. I know he might be a little bit jealous of that, but I digress. But as I mentioned, there have been some developments in this case, but I have to talk about this first before we move on. Donald Trump fell asleep in court again. This is literally the fourth day out of 4 that Donald Trump has fallen asleep in court. As you'll see on your screen, reported by Maggie Haberman with the New York Times. She was inside the courtroom. Trump appears to have fallen asleep in court again. It happened several times just now. His eyes were closed for extended periods, and his head dropped down twice. 4 days. Donald Trump has fallen asleep in the court 4 times. Well, probably more times, but at least 4 days. This is embarrassing. As we talked about in a video recently on this channel, the entire Trump campaign is based on the idea that Biden is sleepy, that he can't do the job and all this nonsense, right? But Donald Trump is literally the one falling asleep in court. Biden has never fallen asleep. It's such an absurd thing to say about Biden. Biden has never fallen asleep in any important setting, any meeting, any press conference, whatever setting you'd like to say. Never fallen asleep in any of them. But Donald Trump is now falling asleep in court every single day. Every single day he's fallen asleep in court. And the point stands, a lot of people have made it, but if Trump can't even stay awake in court, how do we expect him to wake up at 3 a.m. and take that important phone call as a potential second-term president? I don't know why anybody would expect that if he can't keep his eyes open in court. This is the biggest moment of his life, an incredibly important moment in American history, and he is struggling to stay awake. That's a problem, ladies and gents. That's a problem. I just had to talk about that. It was just too funny. The entire Trump campaign's argument of Sleepy Joe is falling down before us, and it is a beautiful sight. But in terms of important developments in this case, you'll see in this tweet on your screen right now that a jury has been selected. 12 jurors, 6 alternates, just in case a jury member or 2 have to drop out. But as this journalist from Lawfare writes, they're sworn in, and Judge Merchan says, quote, "We expect the trial itself to begin Monday," asking them to return promptly then. So the jury is seated, we have our alternates, and we are on track to get opening arguments ready and done on Monday. So only a couple days from now, and we'll be really in the thick of things in this trial and getting it underway. They've projected that it's going to take around 6 weeks for the trial to actually get through it and conclude eventually. But we'll have to find out. But the jury is there. It's ready. And Trump and the Republicans are freaking out about this jury. They're trying to reveal any information they can about the people on the jury because they don't want this trial to go forward. They want it to be tainted. They want the jury pool and the jurors, should say, to be affected, to feel the pressure of MAGA and the cult that they have. And they, historically have done this to people, as we talked about, doxing them, revealing their personal information in an attempt to intimidate them. But now, at least in a criminal setting, for Donald Trump especially, there will be far worse consequences if he decides to go down that route. So anyway, big news from this trial. We'll see what happens on Monday. I expect a lot to be happening. So I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. Drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think. Share the video with anybody you think needs to see it. And as always, I greatly appreciate your support, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.